Hello everybody and welcome to episode 1 of the game you can win but cannot play. Now today, before we get into the gory details and the mathematics of how these topological games work, I'd actually like to tell the story of how these games came about, because the backstory of topological games is very interesting. It's this really human story of mathematicians and their friendships and people just being bonded by a shared love of math. Alright, now let's talk about the history behind topological games. Do a little brief rundown. Now the story begins with this man, Stefan Banach. He was a student at the Lviv Polytechnic Institute. He graduated and was hoping to advance further in academia. Well, he got his break because in 1916, the mathematician Hugo Steinhaus overheard him having a conversation about the Lebesgue integral, and he just found this kid so, interesting and edifying that, was able to pull some strings, and Banach became a rising star in the field of topology and the field of functional analysis. And furthermore, by the time that 1929 rolled around, at Lviv, they had effectively created a whole community of mathematicians called the Lviv School of Mathematics. It wasn't a formalized thing. It was just a whole bunch of, mathematicians, particularly topologists and analysts in the general area who kind of hung out and were friends. Among those mathematicians was Stanislav Mazur, but there are a whole bunch of other famous names too, like Steinhaus himself, as well as Stanislav Ulam, Orlish, Baransky, very famous names if you're into these fields. Now, the Lviv School of Mathematics, they met regularly at, a little coffee shop or restaurant nearby in town called the Scottish Cafe. It's not around now, but that's what it looked like then. And at the Scottish Cafe, they would spend long nights just, having fun together, drinking booze, and above all, working on math problems, discussing math problems, proving theorems, and, of course, since they were, proving these theorems, they had to have somewhere to write on. And, well, for a while, the place where they wrote on was, just on the tabletops of the cafe itself. They were made of marble, so, you could write on it with pencil and it would show up. However, this obviously was not sustainable. Sources I've found tell the story differently. Some say that the owner got sick of them writing on the tables and complained to Banach's wife. Other sources say that, that the mathematicians themselves got sick of it after, a lot of hard work they done was erased the next day by someone who had cleaned the table, and so Banach's wife got them a notebook to work in. But in any case, what happened was, instead of writing on the tables, they decided to write in a book, the Scottish book, that one of the servers at the Scottish Cafe would bring out whenever the mathematicians would come in to have one of their long chats about mathematics. Now, the Scottish book structure was basically, on one page, you had a problem. Then on the opposite page, another mathematician would come in and propose a solution. So one mathematician makes a problem, then on the opposite page, another mathematician proposes a solution. And usually, the mathematician that proposed the problem would have a sort of prize for the mathematician that found the answer, that proved the theorem, that solved the problem. Usually that prize was something along the lines of, a dinner at a restaurant, or a nice bottle of brandy or something. But in one incident, for a particularly difficult problem, the prize was a live goose. Mazur posed the problem, and the prize was a live goose. The problem wasn't solved until 1972, and it was by a Swedish mathematician who wasn't even in the Lviv School of Mathematics at the time, But Mazur kept his promise, and in a televised ceremony, he gave him a live goose. So, in any case, the first topological game was introduced as part of the Scottish book. Mazur came up with a fun, infinite game for 2 players. Well, I say fun, but it's the game you can win but cannot play. It's not really a fun game to play. And he posed the problem, okay, I know in these circumstances, player 1 wins this game, and in other circumstances, the other player wins this game, the player who goes second. Are these the only circumstances in which that's true? Banach managed to prove that, yes, those were the only circumstances in which player 1 and player 2 had a strategy to win those games. And as a result, he got a bottle of wine for solving problem number 43 in the Scottish book. Other mathematicians, proposed their own variants of the problem. Ulam did, Banach did. There's even another problem in the Scottish book about topological games. It was a big barrel of laughs for everyone involved, no doubt. Sadly, though, this wondrous, social group of mathematicians having fun, giving each other prizes, proving each other's theorems, making big advances in the fields of topology and analysis, it was not to last. Because in the 1940s, World War II happened, and the Nazis invaded Poland. And so, nearly every mathematician in the Lviv School of Mathematics was either killed, or they had to flee Poland, or they were forced out of their jobs. And the once great community in the Scottish cafe with the Scottish book was gone, disintegrated, driven apart. So it's a bit of a sad note, but nonetheless, I guess that's it for this video. And be sure to check out the next video when we get into the actual mathematics of these wonderful topological games.